الحمد لله.
ايه الاخبار؟ والساينس ايه؟
كويس.
نبتدي دلوقتي سوا.
ماشي.
We are talking in this unit about the state of the matters, liquid and solid, gas. We studied that liquid state matter and solid state matter consists of, and the gas also consists of particles, and these particles differ from one state to another, and the position and the movement of these particles give each state its properties. Okay?
Okay.
Can you tell me the properties of the solid state matter?
The solid state matter, when we put something and we go, it's still in her place. It don't put a container or something to hold it, like book, pencil.
Yes, very good. So they can keep their shape and
Yes.
can keep their volume. What about liquid state matter?
A liquid state matter is something that we want to put it in a container. If we don't put it in a container, it will spread around the floor,
Okay.
like water.
It can be poured. Also, it can be poured. Today we will talk about another substances that seem that they are like solids and they are like liquids at the same time. They are like liquids and they can be poured. We can pour them. These substances like salt or sugar, these substances we can pour them. We can pour them as liquids. Okay, so they have similar properties with liquids. Okay, here's an interesting scientific problem. Are salt and sugar solids or liquid? Salt and sugar can be poured like liquids. We can put them in a beaker and pour them. We need to observe these materials carefully to find the answer. Are they liquids or are they solids? What do you think? They are solid or liquids?
Actually, solid.
Yes, they are solids, but they have some, they act like liquids. Okay, we also need to use what we have learned about particles. We have learned that the state of the matter that can be poured, it is liquid state of matter. We can pour water, we can pour oil, milk, they are all liquids. So we can pour them. Solids, we can pour them because they keep their shapes. Okay?
Okay.
Will give us a similar case. He is talking here about the bricks. Can you see these bricks? These are bricks. If a brick is a brick a solid? Is this brick is a solid?
Yes.
Yes, it's a solid. How can you tell that it is a solid?
Because it has its own shape, and if we put it, we can. It holds its shape.
Its shape. It doesn't need a container. It can be
Yeah.
poured. Yes. What about a pile of bricks? Are these pile of bricks solid?
Yes.
Yes, they are also solid. If one brick is a solid, so a group of bricks will be solid.
Solid.
Yes, okay. I will show you a video about sand. Sand is like sugar and it's like sugar and salt. It can be poured. Is it true? Can be poured?
Sugar.
Sand?
Yes.
Yes. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Yes. The sand here can be poured.
Yes.
Yes, can be both. Also do salt, also for sugar. They can be both. So they are similar here in this property with liquids. And they need a container to put them in. Can you see? Here he will use a magnifier or magnifying lens to magnify the particles of the sand. Can you see the particles of the sand?
Yes.
They are similar to the particles of the bricks. Okay? Okay. So here the sand consists of particles which is near or similar to the bricks here. So as this brick is a solid, it can keep its shape, it has its own mass and volume, and it doesn't need a container. So do the pile of bricks. They are also solid, they can keep their shape, and they doesn't need a container. Now, B, he is telling me now look at this image of salt. This is the image of salt. Salt under microscope, this is its picture. Okay, it has been magnified so that we can see the tiny pieces or grains that make up the salt. Is there any similarities between this picture and this picture?
Different?
Similarities.
Yeah.
Yes. What is they are similar in what?
The shape.
The shape, yes. We found that the salt, its grain looks like the bricks. Okay, its grains or its pieces, tiny pieces of salt or tiny pieces of sugar is similar to the shape and the size, not the size, similar to the shape of the bricks. They are similar to bricks. How are the grains of salt similar to a pile of bricks? They are similar in their shape. Okay. Okay. This is an individual grain of salt. Looks like that it is a brick. So can you tell me now, is salt a solid or a liquid?
The bricks,
The salt,
the salt, solid.
solid. We found that the grain of the salt is similar to the brick. If we consider this brick is a solid, so we must consider salt is a solid because each single grain of salt has its own shape and has its own volume. And each grain doesn't need a container. If I'm talking about a grain, okay, they are very small. The brick is big, but the particles or the grain of the salt is very small. This is the difference between them. So salt are solid, but they are solid consists of small particles. These small particles need to be kept in a container. So we consider the salt as a solid. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. He is saying to me, how could you see small blocks and the bucket activity from page 63 to model that solids made of tiny pieces or are all solids, even though they flow like a liquid? If we are talking about the activity in page 63, which is the activity of the bucket, and when we are trying to pour liquid, this one, okay? What about if we put a salt or a sugar in this bucket? Can we pour it like water?
Yes.
Yes, we can pour it like water because it consists of small grains or small particles. Okay? Okay, this is the sugar. Okay? Stay with me. Look at this one.
I can't hear anything.
There is no sound, it's a music.
Okay.
This is the sugar grains under microscope. They are look like bricks, small bricks. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. This is why we considered sugar and salt and any substance that made up of small grains, we consider it a solid, even if we can pour it like liquids. Okay, Sawa?
Okay.
Okay. Salt, sand, and sugar are made of grains. They are all made of grains or small particles. Each grain is a tiny solid. So when the unit or the small part of the substance is a solid, so the whole substance is a solid. The salt, each grain of the salt is a solid particle. Okay, a solid grain. We called it a solid grain. So if the grain is a solid, so the whole salt is a solid, like the bricks here. If we have the brick, is a solid. The brick in the last page is a solid, as this one is a solid, okay? So if the one of one brick is a solid, what about a group of bricks? Are they solids?
Yes.
Yes, the same with sugar and salt and every substance which can be poured or made up of grains like rice, like beans, like sugar, sand. They are all solid. They are consisted of small grains. One grain of each substance is considered as a solid. So the whole substance is a solid. One grain of salt is a solid. So the whole amount of salt is a solid. One grain of sand is a solid. So the whole amount of sand is also solid. One grain of sugar is a solid. So the whole amount of sugar is a solid. Okay? Each grain is a tiny solid. We call it solid, but it is small in size. But it is still solid. Okay? Salt, sugar, and sand are solids, even though they flow and move in a similar way to a liquid. They move or flow or can be poured like liquid. It's a similar property that present in tiny solid and present in the liquid. They are similar in this property, but they are solid, as we said that each grain is a solid. Powders are classified as solid as well. Powders like what? Like flour. Do you know the flour?
Yes.
Yes, flour is a powder. Its particle is, its grain is very small. The grain of flour is a very small, smaller than the grain of salt and smaller than the grain of sugar. But they are still also solid. They are smaller in size, but the grain is a solid. So the whole amount of flour is also solid. Okay, Saba?
Okay.
Okay. So the powders are classified as solid. Powders are made of even smaller pieces or grains of solid. They behave even more like liquid. They can be poured like liquid. We can keep them in a container. So these are properties that is for liquid. They are similar with liquid in this property that they need a container and they can be poured. Okay, طبعا. طبعا.
أيوة.
Okay, تمام.
أيوة.
تمام. So can you tell me about the tiny solids? They're solids or liquid?
The tiny solids are powders that is tiny
Grains. طبعا.
small tiny purples under it like a rock.
Yes.
This
We
shows up.
can call it a grain because
Yes.
it may confuse between the grain of solid and sugar and the particles of the matter. So call it a
Yes.
grain. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Continue. Are talking about?
If we put sugar under the scope, we can find the small tiny of rocks like rocks the shape of rocks. This shows us that the sugar is a solid, not a liquid.
Yes, very good. Even if it has some properties like liquid that they need a container or they can be poured. Okay. Here is an activity. Let's observe some special solids that behave like liquid. They only behave like liquid, but they are solid. Is there a pattern between the size of a solid piece and how like a liquid the solid behave? Is this a relationship between the size of the grain of the solid and how like a and their behavior as a liquid?
I said, can you say it again?
If there is a relationship between the size of the solid pieces, like the size of the salt or the size of the sugar or the size of the flour, and how they flow like liquid?
Oh, okay. Some solids, it can be flowed like liquid, like salt.
Yes, like sugar.
Yeah, sand, like this. We can
Yes,
pour the liquid, but it is
a solid.
yes.
Yes, okay. He's asking me to use the magnifier to look at each material, predict which material will flow most like a liquid. We have rice, and we have powdered sugar, and we have a brown sugar. We have a magnifier. Powdered sugar is a sugar present, its grain is smaller than the normal sugar. Powdered sugar, its particle is smaller than the normal sugar. Rice, which one or which substance, its grain is larger in size?
Rice.
Rice. And the next one?
Plastic cubes.
No, we will use plastic cubes to pour this substance.
Okay.
So the larger grains is rice. What is the medium-sized grain? Powdered sugar or brown sugar?
Powdered sugar.
Powdered sugar is smaller. Powdered sugar يعني سكر
brown sugar.
Brown sugar, its grains is larger than the powdered sugar. So the largest grain is the grain of the rice, the medium-sized grain is the grain of the brown sugar, and the smallest size of the grain is for the powdered sugar. He is asking me to use the magnifier to look at each material. Predict which material will flow most like a liquid. Which one will flow most like liquid? The substance which has a bigger grain or the substance which has a smaller grains?
Bigger grain.
Bigger grain, very good. So the rice is the substance which will flow similar to the substance that will flow in a way which is most similar to the liquid is the rice. So the material will flow most like a liquid is the rice. He's asking me also to sort the materials from most like a liquid to least like a liquid. What do you think? Which is the most like a liquid? Rice, powdered sugar, or brown sugar?
Powdered sugar.
Is most like a liquid or least like a liquid?
Least.
Least. Powdered sugar is the least like a liquid. Rice is the most like a liquid because its grain is larger, so it can flow easily like liquids. Okay, Saba, you understand?
Yes, so easy.
Okay, very good. Place some rice in a plastic cup. Tip it from one cup to another. How does it move?
Does it move?
How does it move? Its movement is like what?
Rice.
Rice. Its flow is like what?
Flow like
liquid.
Like liquid, yeah.
Yes, like liquid. So rice flow from one cup to another like liquid, and it take the shape of the container like the liquid. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
ايه تقولي ايه؟
اوكي بقولي اوكي.
اوكي يا حبيبي. Empty the cup and try the same activity with the other material. Empty the cup from rice and then put brown sugar and try to pour it. And then put the powdered sugar and try to pour it. Okay, what will you found? We will found that the rice is the most similar substance to liquid. It can flow.
Because it's the largest grain.
Very good. Okay. D, which material flows most like liquid? We answered this question. What is the pattern between the size of the solid pieces and the solid flowing like a liquid?
The solid of rice pieces, it's much bigger
Yes.
than the solid than the liquid. The liquid, the largest, only the largest amount of liquid is the rice. But
Large size
we
of
can,
the rice. Yes.
yes.
Okay. He is asking me find other solids at home that behave like liquid. What do you think about it? Is there any other solids at home that behave like a liquid?
Salt.
Salt, okay. Beans.
Beans.
Tea. Tea.
Yes.
Yes. Use what you have learned to show a family member that these are solids are not liquid. I think they know that they are solids.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes. We have reached the end of Unit 4. Okay, we'll answer this question together. Which state of matter does each model show? A. What does A show is طبعا? Which state?
A state of, but a small grain.
No, this is the particles of the matter. Don't confuse between. Don't confuse them between the particles of the matter, which make the solid, liquid, gas, and the grain.
Oh, okay. I understand it now.
Okay. The state of the matter, which represents A. Which state? Solid, liquid, gas.
Yes.
Yes. Tell me which state A.
State A is a solid matter.
Solid, very good. And B?
B, liquid matter.
Okay.
Liquid.
Yes, okay. Are these statements true or false? A, particles are always moving even in a solid. Is it true or false?
Particles are always moving even in a solid. False.
Why?
Particles are always no, it's true. I read the other one.
Yes, all particles of any type of state of matter are always in moving. The particles of the solid are moving, but they are vibrating. The movement of the particles of the solid is a vibrating movement. Okay? So all particles in all types or all states of matter are in continuous moving. Okay, the solid state particles, they move by vibrating. They vibrate in their place. Okay, the particles of the liquid move around each other. Okay, so this one is true. Particles are always moving, even in a solid. Yes, it's true. Okay, B. The particles in a liquid are very spread out.
True.
Spread out, they are away from each other. Each particle has a space.
No, it's all together.
Yes, they are baked together. Okay, so it's false. C, the particles in a solid are in neat rows. They are
particles.
They are arranged in rows and columns.
Yes, true.
True, okay. D, particles in a solid can slide over each other.
Particles in a solid can slide each other. Actually, false.
False. Which particles, which state of matter that slide over each other? Its particles slide.
Liquid.
Liquid. Liquids change their volume.
False.
false. Okay. Here we will use the identification key to identify states of the matter or identify these materials. Where does each material below go in this identification key? The first question is, can it be board? If we say
Yes.
no, yes. If you say, well, first we will take no. If we said no,
Okay.
what would this material is? Sand or brick or water or air?
Air.
No.
No. Can it? I said can it not be board? Can it be board? Water.
No, it can't be board. Which one? Which material?
No, it can be board.
It can't be board. Can't. We cannot
Can,
board it.
okay. Bricks.
Bricks. So A here is bricks. Bricks is the material or the substance that we cannot board it. Okay. If we said yes, does it need a container?
Yes.
Yes.
Water.
Water. Which need a
Water.
container?
Water
Yes.
container.
Okay. Water need a container, but there is another question. If we said yes, it need a container. Does it fill the container? Does it spread
Air.
and fill the container? If we said
Air.
yes, it's air. If we said
Yes.
no,
It's sand.
no here, this is the liquid state matter. Sand is not a liquid state matter.
Yes, I said it. No, sand.
No.
Yes, I said it. No, I didn't say it. Yes.
Okay, but this one here is not a sand.
Yes.
Sand is, does it need a container? Yes, it need a container. Okay, we said yes, it need a container. When we said yes, it need a container, so we're talking about if we put it in a container, it will fill it. We said yes, so it's A. It doesn't fill it, so it has a definite volume here. So we called it water here. This one is a liquid state matter here. Okay?
But here he said, does it need a container? Water.
No, the liquid, if we don't put a liquid in a container, it may be spread out and spread out on the surface. The sand need a container, yes, to bake it up. But if we pour the sand, it's easy. It's not a problem. Okay, it's not like the liquid. It need a container, yes, because it consists of small grains. So it need a container. But it can be. I can lift it. I can lift it without a container. Okay, it will keep its shape. If I lift it without a container, it will keep the grain, will keep its shape. Okay?
Okay.
You are confused between these two?
Only the second one and the third one I was confused.
Okay. I will tell you. Liquid must be bought. We must put liquid in a container. Must be in a container because it can't keep its own shape. But if we talk about the sound in the level of the grain, is the grain can keep its shape? A grain of sand can keep its shape?
Yes.
Yes. Do a grain of sand need a container to be held in?
No.
No. This is the grain of sand. So this property will be in the whole sand. We put it in a container or in a bag or anything like this, but when we are comparing between sand and between water, which one will need a container? We'll say that the water need a container. This is the property of a liquid at first. Here the sand act like a liquid, but it is not a liquid. The one grain of sand act as a solid. So when there is a comparison between water and between sand, and we want things that when we code it need a container, we will say it is a water here. Okay? Okay. Does it need a container? We can see no. Why no? Because a grain of sand doesn't need a container. It is a solid state matter which can keep its shape. Okay, but because it present in some grains, each grain present in a small size, so we put them in a container. But the grain of sand has the property of solid, that it doesn't need a container. It can keep its shape. It can be bored. The grain of sand. One grain of sand is a solid brick, like a solid brick. It can keep its shape. It doesn't need to be bored. But because the sand particles is small, so it have a similar property like liquid. When we put them in a comparison with each other, we found that the sand is here. We will put sand here. When we are comparing between liquid and solid, which act like a liquid, we will choose the liquid to be filling the container. اوكي سوا ولا لسه متلخبطه؟
لا خلاص.
تمام. طيب يبقى احنا هنا بنعمل acting، يعني احنا هنا بنتكلم على الجرين اوف ساند، على حبه الساند الواحده. مش هي بتبقى حافظه الشيب بتاعها وحافظه الفوليوم بتاعها لو هي حبه واحده.
ايوه.
اوكي سو اتس ذا سوليد. لما يبقى عندي مقارنه بين الليكويد وبين الساند، مين فيهم اللي ياخد الكونتينر؟ لا، الاجابه عندي ان اللي هيملى، اللي هيعوز كونتينر او اللي لازم احطه في كونتينر هو الليكويد ستيت ماتر، او اختار الووتر. لكن هنا هقول it doesn't need a container. اوكي اوكي. I will share with you the workbook now. معرفتيش لسه يا صبا هتقفوا لحد فين في ترم 1؟
هو احنا اسمها ايه ده في يونت 3 وقربنا نخلصها، فمش عارفين بقى هناخد يونت 4 ولا لا.
تمام. Okay. Liquid like solid. Sugar is a solid that behaves in a similar way to a liquid. Which properties does sugar have that make it similar to a liquid? Do you know?
solid. Okay, that behaves in a similar way to a liquid, which present that sugar have that makes it similar to liquid. Uh, the small particles.
The property. Similar to liquid. Property similar to liquid.
If we pour it, it poured like a liquid.
Yes.
The small sugars. If we poured it, we poured it like a liquid.
Yes, very good. So it can flow like liquid, and it take the shape of the container.
Yes.
So this is the similar properties with liquid. Okay. Imagine that you are using a magnifier. Draw what sugar would like through a magnifier to show that sugar is solid. Tell me what you will draw.
Sugar is a solid.
As we see the picture of the sugar under the microscope.
Yes, under the microscope with those small particles like bricks.
Like bricks, very good. So we will draw here like grains, which is like bricks. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Write a few sentences to explain why sugar is a solid.
Like the other one, like we saw it under telescope. This shows us that we saw small particles like bricks. This shows us that the sugar is a solid.
Yes. So it consists of a small grain. Each small grain is a solid. It has its own shape and has its own volume, and it acts as a solid. So the whole amount of sugar is a solid, even if it have some properties which is similar to liquid, that it can flow, or it need a container, or it take the shape of the container. But the one grain of sugar is a solid state matter. So the sugar is a solid state. Okay. Name at least 3 other solids that behave in a similar way to sugar.
Salt.
Yes.
Sand.
Yes.
Sand.
Yes.
Rice actually.
Okay. Classification of particles. Here we will talk about the particles of the matter. ما تتلخبطيش بين كلمة particle. لما نقول particle it's a particle which is the building unit of the matter. The particles of the solid, the particles of the liquid, the particles of the gas. Like Democritus talked about the smallest piece which can be broken to a smaller part. This is the particle. When we talk about the grain of sugar or the grain of sand يعني حبات السكر حبات الرمل هنقول عليها grain عشان ما نتلخبطش بينها وبين البارتكل of the matter. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, and when there is a question about particle, you can answer it correctly. Classification of particle, here he is talking about the particle that made solid, the particle that made liquid, the particle that made gas. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Particles are moving. Is there a particle which is not moving?
Yes.
Which particles?
The particles of sugar.
انت اتلخبطتي فيهم تاني اهو. احنا بنتكلم عن particles of solid, liquid, gas. The particles.
Okay.
Okay, not the
Okay.
grains of sugar. Here we are talking about the state of matter, the particles that make states of the matter. These particles.
Okay.
مش عارفة موجود هنا ولا مش موجود. Particles of the matter. مش موجود. بصي يا صباح. These. بتدخلي تاني يا صباح. صباح. صباح سامعاني؟
أيوة.
صباح.
أيوة سامعاكي.
صوتك بعيد قوي 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 يا صباح.
حاضر.
Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes. This is the particles of the matter that we are talking about. This that we call data particle. The particle of solid that Democritus and that Democritus talked about. We found that the particles of the solid are close to each other and they are arranged. This is the particles. Okay? This is the particles of the solid state matter. Okay, صبا؟ صبا سامعاني؟
أيوة.
Okay, so these are the particles of the matter that we are talking about. Each matter is consists of a particle. In the solid state matter, the particles are near each other and baked tightly, and they move only by vibrating. Okay, and these are the particles of the solid, the liquid. They are close to each other and can flow around each other. Okay, these are the particles of the matter that we are talking about. Here, when we are talking about solid like